Today we're going to be replacing the ceiling fan in the computer room for the very last time. This is the fan that's been in here. It is the Hampton Bay Cameron, whatever the number is, I don't remember. This has been a very good fan for the last couple of months that it was in here. Very powerful and very reliable. It is one of the fans that, well actually I'm going to take all the fans with me, so I have to put in its place a pretty cheap Power Max Hugger. This particular one I believe was sold at the Walmart, so it would have been sold under the Mainstays name, but as we've discussed before, it's not a Mainstays fan because Mainstays is just a Walmart house brand, and really it's a Power Max fan because that's who made it. Anyway, so we'll begin taking this down. The only thing I didn't like about these fans was the way the blades come off. You have to remove the housing first, which I just think is kind of ludicrous because every time you gotta tighten it, it's a little bit more of a production than it should be. This whole unit is already in need of being repainted, so I'm not going to be super careful with it because I'm not worried about it being scratched. So one of the things I'm going to do that I normally wouldn't do is I'm going to stack the blades up on top of each other, which typically scratches up the irons if you're not careful, but I'm going to repaint them eventually anyways. So this here, that's something I would normally never do, but it needs to be repainted regardless. And of course, as is a reoccurring theme, something that should be simple just became very difficult. There it is. If I recall correctly, there's something kind of flaky about the way the canopy is set up. I think it's not screwed in or something. Yeah, it looks like there's no screws. And that was correct. There are no screws. I think because this mounting bracket is the wrong one. I don't know, there was some reason for that. Alright, let's see, what do we have here? What in the world? Okay. Now, in any normal situation, you couldn't get two wires to hold on to each other like that. Unbelievable. Okay, so let's take a look at what we got here. This is our new mounting brackets. So it looks like we're going to want to use the hole all the way on the left, and I think these wires are supposed to go through here. Lovely. It's not. No, it's not live. I kind of don't like it going through there because that's. I guess it's not that sharp, but it definitely seems to have the potential to be enough to shave into the insulation of the wires. I suppose in a perfect world I would have removed these before putting it up against the ceiling. That's not really a big deal. Okay, that's that. Now we move on to the motor, which looks like a pretty standard mount. So in theory, I believe this should be able to hook in here like that, and then we can more easily make the connections. We are going to be using the light, so we're going to need that. And with these fans, you got to make sure that the wires are really up and out of the way. Otherwise it'll scrape on the motor. And I mean, they should be up and out of the way just for safety measures anyways. It should be up in the box, not floating around. Alright, that's pretty good. Like that. And then we got to get one of these screws going here. Yeah, see that here, that could be a potential issue over time. It could start scraping on the motor. Let's see if I could push that back in there a little bit more. There we go. That's good. Good clearance now. Alright, I'm going to on it real quick just to make sure it works. Alright, it seems to work just fine. Okay. Nice and easy mounting system, that's for sure. Doesn't get much easier than that. Alright, so the screw on the left we can put in to start with. These are a bit small to work with. And make sure the washer is on the outside of the housing, not the inside. Okay. Where's the hole? I don't think that screw threaded right, but I don't really care. This is too cheap for me to be concerned about it. Alright, let's get these blades together. Generally, I would almost always use the oak side. I think it looks pretty nice, although actually this oak is much, much darker than the Hampton Bays oak. And this doesn't so much match the walls. I thought this matched the walls really nicely. I like that color a lot better than this color, but they're kind of jacked up anyways, so we use the white side. I think in this scenario it looks a little better. Alright, so we got the screws here. Some kind of a weird... Okay. So these are going to be the... Too much stinking plastic. These are going to be the blade screws. This is not really the correct and useful thing. This will be more useful for this application. Got some imperfections on there, but I'm not sure if that was from mishandling and shipment or if it was like that from the factory. I'd be willing to guess the latter. I mean the former. I'd be willing to guess that was shipping damage. They included 2 wire nuts. I guess they don't expect you to connect the ground. That's kind of ridiculous. Some of these aren't threading in too nicely. These did come with lock washers, that's good. They're pretty small screws. I think we're gonna end up using the smaller bit here. Yeah. It's got the holes almost like the AccuArm thing, but there's nowhere for them to align to, so it's not really doing anything functionally. Let that down for summer operations so we get counterclockwise rotations. Oh, there was a third wire not included. I just didn't realize it was there. We got this funny LED bulb. Not a fan of LED bulbs, but since I won't really be using this, I'll put it in there anyways. And it can stay here when I move out. And maybe I'll try to use it and see if it does in fact induce any headaches. When I tested the bulb, it didn't seem too bad, but time will tell. After I use it for an hour or two here, it may become more unpleasant. The globe is kind of like a matte finish frosted thing, which is kind of interesting. This would be easier if these had screw heads on the top of these things, but they don't. It's hand tightening only. I have to say, this was a super easy installation, especially for a flush mount fan. I find those usually are not quite as pleasant to install, but this was quite simple. Absolutely no complaints with the installation process whatsoever. Okay, so there we go. It's all up in place. The Power Mac Electric Company Limited Guangdong ceiling fan. The light works. And the fan works. It's got a kind of a loud motor, but I don't care. I won't be here listening to it. If it wasn't for that motor hum, it actually would be relatively quiet. I don't know. Well, that's that. It's installed. It's working. And it moves some air, but not much to speak of. That would be expected for a small fan this size and this price range. No, it'll work. Serves the purpose here just fine.